Welcome to episode 5 of Bullseye. I'm Derek Sharp with Kaylee Cottrell and BJ Daniels. And yes, I'm wearing the same exact shirt and shoes and sock combination that I have the last 2 shows. You know why?
Consistent.
Because they won the last 2 weeks.
There we go.
And I'm looking to change. I mean, I'll change
No,
in
don't
between.
change.
Don't change. I'll change in between shows. I'll wear various outfits between now and next week. But another win to talk about. Let's speak with the person who was there in Annapolis.
Yeah.
Very jealous that you were there.
It was amazing. It truly was. It was my first game at Navy. I hadn't experienced that whole ordeal, and it was so special. I talked for my feature this week. I talked to Michael Kelly's dad, who's a retired lieutenant, a Vietnam War veteran, and
My goodness.
just to experience, they talked about the history there, the traditions there, and I was expecting it, but truly, when I got there, it so much took my breath away, and I had chills all day. There's plaques, there's memorials all around the stadium, and I really took the time and read everything and just appreciated everything, and starting from Pearl Harbor into World War II and Iwo Jima and the Midway into the Cold War and Vietnam, and it was I can't tell you how many times I got chills that day, and it just took my breath away.
I mean, when you're going through all of that, it's almost like, okay, I have to focus on a football game next. Did it take a little bit? Did it take a little bit?
There's literally a wall on one of the end zones, and it's lined with plaques like in memoriam, in tribute to, and then you look up and it's just the field and a football game being played, and it's like, what a backdrop, what a, it's heavy, it's a lot, but it's so special, and there's such a sense of pride there, and it was so amazing to experience. And then the actual game itself, starting the way we did and coming back the way we did, and the discipline that our guys showed, and the resilience there, that was so special. And to have them feed off the hundreds of fans
that was my next question, the fans.
Oh my gosh, so I adore Byram's dad. Close with him. I met him last year, and we chat every game now because he travels to every home game, every away game, and I spotted him before the game, so I went up into the stands and chatted for a few minutes, and we were talking about how many people were there. Byram had 79 people there to support him. I was like, hey, half of them are you.
First of all, I'm a big fan of you saying 79 instead of 80 because let's get specific with it. I like that, but I mean, it probably helped the Bulls out. I know we're going to talk to Alex Golesh and probably Jhalyn Shuler, our guest, about it. But
they had the chants going, the cheers going, the energy. You could really feel it. They were yelling, they were screaming, and it was pretty cool to see that much support travel for our guys and really show up and have a ball with them.
And you got to watch it, BJ, back at home along with me, and she talked about the tough start. It's to the point now where this team can get knocked down, and you feel like, okay, maybe naturally there's a little bit of, oh man, how's this going to go? But with this offense and defense, 2 pretty important aspects of football, you still have confidence, right? Yeah,
you can make up a lot of ground. It's really cool to see, Navy give their best shot. They're on a road game. They got South Florida, who hasn't played on the road well in the conference historically. And they threw a punch. We took it, and then we battled back on all 3 phases of the game: offense, defense, and special teams. So, for all 3 to kind of be successful and to score touchdowns and to contribute to making up for, the start, that was really good to see.
And we talked about having, hundreds of fans there on a road game. You remember playing? I mean, you can't expect like 6,000 to 7,000 fans to travel. Do you happen to recall? I'm guessing in Tallahassee it sounded like there was a big Bulls contingent, but A, maybe the best support you had on the road, and B, how that helps.
Yeah, probably the best support was Florida State in 2009, and from a player's perspective and standpoint, it's amazing to be in an away arena where no one is supposed to historically like you, but then you look up and you see a sea of green. That's definitely is a motivating factor. It's really cool when you get on the road. I used to enjoy going on the road to hear how quiet the crowd was after we scored a touchdown. But it's really exciting to hear how quiet the home crowd is. But then you look in this corner and you got a sea of green just rooting you on.
One of the things, it's funny you mentioned the noise. I do the radio broadcasts when we're on the road. We're myself and Jim Lighthall host the studio part. We're actually in a studio in Amalie Arena, and so we get to hear the call of Jim Lauk and Sam Barrington about 10 seconds before everybody sees it. We hear it right when it happens, and usually when you're listening to the call and not seeing it, you can tell what's going to happen with the crowd. There were about 7 plays was like, oh, that's a good play for Navy by the crowd reaction. And it was our play, so that's how noticeable they were. One other thing that was noticeable, and Jim Lauk wouldn't stop talking about it, and I'm jealous, and you were there, so I'm jealous, was it seems like it was the first batch of football weather that we've had.
Yeah.
Explain.
Yeah, I mean, I broke out long sleeves for the first time this season. The sun came out a little bit after 3, right around kickoff, so it felt nice. And then once the sun started to set a little bit, kind of brought the sleeves down a little bit more. But it's a good change.
Yeah, definitely jealous. So I got to ask what your definition of football weather is. It seems like some people's definition, and I'm going to ask a guy who played football in a second here, of football weather is it's got to be 50 or below. To me, that is, turn on the heater weather. It's not football weather.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Okay, so you're the same. What about you, BJ Daniels?
Well, I'm a hot-natured person, so I get hot very easily. So football weather for me is probably 50, 60. I still wouldn't even break out the sleeves, because I'd still, be fuming with sweat. But at the end of the day, the fans will always feel differently than what the players do. But I'm definitely not a cold weather guy. So anything below that, I'm cold. So.
Can you recall your worst experience when it came to the cold side of things, NFL?
I have to go to my only snow game ever.
Denver. It's got to be Denver, right?
USF versus UConn.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
Yeah, my freshman year.
Oh, my gosh.
So that's the only snow game I've ever played in. And I was cold. I was really cold.
No fun. Well, we had fun watching the guys, and we are going to talk to the head coach, Alex Golesh, a little bit about it. We're also going to talk to Jhalyn Shuler, a big part of the defense. Erika Brennan is our non-football guest this week. She is the head coach of women's golf, which is into its 50th season of existence. Started it off with a victory. She is one of our favorite people to talk to. So that's all coming up on this episode of Bullseye. Don't go anywhere.
Afternoon from Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium, where the Navy midshipmen welcome in the resurgent USF Bulls in a clash of contrasting styles between two first-year head coaches. Now Sean Atkins making the ground. In the pocket up top, it's Atkins, loses the defender. Sean Atkins. With a false start back snap. He will return this for pass. Off and running Jhalyn Shuler. And Jhalyn Shuler is going to put a couple more on the board. Quan Wright punches it in. Day Dales put him night-night. Michael Brown Stevens, 15 yards. Alive, and the ball is loose on the ground. Scooped up by USF. Tramel Logan will go the distance in an unbelievable turnaround. There's Dukes dancing, and Dukes coasting to the end zone.
Bullseye with the head coach, Alex Golesh. Derek Sharp here with BJ Daniels, talking about another win, first one on the road for the squad, and so much to like about what happened. And again, overcoming stuff, in this case, the start, but the fight back, the immediate fight back, which we're big fans of. And speaking of fans, it was an awesome turnout. I know you mentioned it on your post-game comments, but it was several hundred. Let's start with there and get into the action.
Yeah, I felt like some real juice right behind our bench, and we were on defense down at that end, and you could hear it, you could feel it. There was the 4th and 1 stop with the fumble was right down there at that end, and I was like shocked. I guess I never look up to really pay attention, but I look back, I'm like, wow, there's like a crazy cool contingency here of certainly a bunch of parents and families, but I know the tailgate had 350 or 360 people there. I was really, really impressed. They were into it, and certainly got to witness a really good football game. In terms of the game, like you said, 2 really, really bad deals at the beginning with the drop punt, which resulted in 7 points, and then going for it on 4th and 1 and not getting it, which resulted in 7 points. And so you go down 14-0, and I know it sounds a little bit like coach talk, but I just kind of stood back and wanted to see what the heck our guys were going to do. And when I tell you there wasn't a single guy that flinched, wasn't a single guy with bad body language, every single person on that trip, we traveled 84 guys and 78 dressed out. Every single guy was like, what's up? What's next? What's up?
Nice.
Which, you can look at it as a turning point in our program. I feel like every week there's been moments of growth, moments of turning points, moments of resiliency on all three sides of the ball. But that was probably the first time where I felt we're either going to pass this test and skyrocket, or we're going to fail this test and going to have to go back and evaluate where we are. And when I tell you those young guys passed the test, and really not just passed the test, but continued to get more and more energized as the test got harder. And, really you look at the end of the game, and we got the ball back with, close to 8 minutes. And the entire challenge was defensive guys get off the bench. Let's get this thing going. Offense, we're going to keep this ball here and methodically put this together in a 14-point game where you really didn't want to give the ball back in any imaginable way. And what we do on offense, that's sometimes hard to do,
right,
to go 8 minutes. And when I tell you they strained and about as hard as you can, and there was some, and I showed the guys on Monday a majority of that drive, and not to commend anybody individually, but just to show what the sideline looked like, because the entire team was standing there. Coach Orlando is coaching up the O-line to strain harder. Like, it was some really cool stuff that was going on. Like, literally, Coach Orlando standing next to Coach Hoodie, telling these guys to strain. It was an ultimate team deal at the very end to go run out the time. And when you can see another team say, you know what, we're good, we get it. And I respect the heck out of that team and Coach Newberry and what they're trying to build. But I was really proud of our guys that they held on to it and made it happen. And it wasn't pretty. You talk about 3 turnovers. Generally, that doesn't result in winning, but found a way and scored 9 points on defense, which was absolutely huge. Had some huge 4th down stops defensively. Had some critical 3 and outs. And I think as you look at the game, and I'm getting long-winded here, but as you look at it, you're down 14-0, and the next 3 of 4 offensive drives, you go score touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. The next 3 of 4 defensive drives, you go 3 and out, 5 and out, and touchdown, and you got a 2-point conversion flip the other way. Like, that's response on both sides of the ball. That's resiliency. And that doesn't mean we're going to do the same thing again next week. It just means last week our process was right enough to go execute at a high clip when we had to.
Coach, you scored on all 3 phases of the game: offense, defense, and special teams. Can you kind of talk about what it takes each week to prepare for each team, and then what you guys saw specifically against the Navy that you guys can take advantage of on the field goal block, number 1. Number 2, I don't think they get that 4th down regardless of the fumble or not, when our defensive end returned it for a touchdown. And then obviously offensively, it's explosive, and everyone's touching the football.
Yeah, I think the biggest key to being able to sustain success throughout a year is to reset. Like, clean it, coach it on Monday morning, and then literally keep moving, and build on what's going well. A good example would be our pass game, right? Like really touch and go, really touch and go, really touch and go. And then against Rice, that was the first time they felt it. Like, man, like when we're playing fast and our guys are feeling it and the quarterback is protected, like, this is like really fun. Right. Situations like that or games like that provide confidence to keep moving forward and continue to build. But I think the key to the whole thing is to be able to reset. I think really, really elite football teams are able to reset and say, man, we're back to square one. What's it actually going to take? I think average teams keep talking about what happened, good or bad, right, and can't ever just flip the page and reset. So I continue to challenge, our coaches to reset, and therefore then challenge your players to reset and understand that last week means nothing for this week, and really handle every single phase individually, really handle every single phase with elite game planning. And then, we have it written up in our offensive staff room, but like an elite plan executed poorly is a bad plan. And it's not so much can we draw up as these really, really great ideas. It's what can our kids learn and what can our kids execute at a high clip. And so that's the constant challenge. Don't overthink ourselves. Empower the young guys to learn and be able to execute. And as long as they can execute a really good plan, then it's a really good plan.
No doubt.
You mentioned the word execute a couple of times, and I don't want to propose. Actually, I am proposing maybe another quote that can go up on one of your boards, because I don't know if you heard Byron Brown say it, and it was just the way he delivered it. He's saying, yeah, we just had to do this, and we just need to go back and execute. And then he said, and executing is fun. So I'm thinking maybe executing is fun, quote unquote, Byron Brown. And of course, we got to talk about him. But speaking of executing, one thing that that stood out to me was the penalties. And not just the fact that you won the penalty battle with Navy, only committing one. I know you guys have refs at practice, but whatever you did, it worked. And secondly, one of their 8 penalties, which got picked up at the end of the first half, and your reaction to it, it just showed me how much you fight for your team. It showed me that if I was ever in legal trouble, knock wood, I'm not, that I want you fighting for me. But and also that shows you that you know how important the end of the first half is. You actually had to overcome that. So the penalty situation, I thought, was a big deal.
Yeah. That was a hot topic question last week. I think probably because of the differential in our penalty situation through the first 4 and certainly Navy's through the first 3. I don't know that you drill it home. We do have refs at every practice. We track penalties throughout practice.
Okay.
We certainly coach the heck out of it. I think it's a matter of playing clean, meaning from a technique standpoint, that's what generally covers up the penalties. You're always going to have playing penalties. So I don't necessarily drill home holdings or even like pass interference at times. Like, you don't want guys to not be aggressive.
Right.
That's the one thing that I think from a media standpoint it gets drilled up. You're like, you want me to tell the O-lineman if that guy runs through, the quarterback is getting hit, and all I've told him every minute of every day is he better protect the quarterback.
Yep.
So some penalties are aggressive playing penalties. It's the dumb penalties you got to cut out, and there's no other word to describe them other than dumb penalties. It's the celebrations, it's the late hits, it's the hits out of bounds or the erratic hits, and that's just it. And we've had a bunch of those now, which I take full responsibility for, and we have addressed them in every imaginable way. But playing penalties happen. They just happen to not happen in this one. And to be honest with you, a lot of the credit goes, offensively, a lot of the credit goes to the fact that the quarterback is getting more comfortable in the back, so there's less scrambling around and therefore less holding calls.
True.
We're playing with better technique up front, so there's less holding calls. We're getting better at perimeter blocking, so there's less holding calls. We're operating better offensively, so there's less false starts. And then you flip it to the defensive side of the ball. We're operating better on the D-line in terms of getting off on the football, so there's less of that. They only threw the ball, I can't tell you an exact number, but very few, so less down the field things that could have happened. So there's a lot that went into it, but we are playing cleaner football. We're playing smarter football. Again, the only thing that matters for this coming week is that we do it again. And so the ball's going to be in the air a lot more.
Right.
There's going to be a lot more moving around to the quarterback, so you may inevitably get a couple more penalties. But to be honest with you, I don't lose sleep over it.
Offensively, last week we talked a lot about one guy, Naeem Simmons. So how important was it to see 4 receivers go for 40+, and one of them was not named Naeem Simmons? I mean, the offense, Byram can throw to anybody, it looks like at this point.
Yeah, it's such a matchup-based offense, and obviously Naeem got a lot of attention. What I've been really proud of with that group, and LD, Coach LD said it after the game, those guys are starting to be really, really, really close, and in terms of that receiver unit. And what I think I'm so proud of is how happy they are for each other. The long touchdown, the 88-yard touchdown for Sean Atkins, if you really look at it, Joffrey Brown ran a comeback on the other side, and he almost beat him down there to go celebrate with him. And Joffrey is a young man that has had some really bright spots this season and has had some tough moments this season. But to see how happy Joffrey is for Sean, that's how at least for me internally, I know we're getting better and we're continuing to grow in terms of the trust within our program, because just as happy as Sean is, Joffrey's just as happy for him. And also Sean didn't get a celebration penalty, so that's good. But yeah, I think that's what makes it fun to be a skill guy in our offense, that at any point anybody can go off, which is it makes it easier to keep a receiver room happy, as you would know.
Oh, yeah. And you talk about the celebrations, right? I saw a couple of them that look routine. So what makes these guys close and put dance routines or just be happy for each other? Like, what is that something you guys work on? Do you guys spend time outside of the film room? I noticed Sunday you had a bunch of food trucks out here and guys had an opportunity to kind of fellowship and, possibly recap and talk about the game that they just experienced and won.
Yeah, I think we've done a lot to try to bring guys together. Sunday food trucks are a tradition that we started, and I think the guys love it. I love food trucks. And so it's certainly a time for them to come together, talk ball, get treatment, and kind of recap it. But I think what LD has done with that room in terms of bringing those guys together, forcing them to learn and grow in terms of what it's like to be a pro. And LD played for a long time. He knows what it takes, and trying to bring that pro mindset in terms of how you work to a room. But at the same time, I think it's just a selfless group of guys that genuinely feel like they've struggled a long time to get to this point. And they've each got some really cool stories. And I think they've gelled well because they truly appreciate what the others have gone through. And so I give LD a lot of credit, Jack Taylor, who's with LD in that group. And I give Sean Atkins a lot of credit. He's really taken that room by the horns and really has started to become a really solid leader. He's not a vocal guy, never has been. LD has challenged them. I've challenged him and have told him, like, you work hard enough to lead. These guys will follow you because they respect who you are, how you work. Kid was a walk-on that was working at Meat Market when I got here. Like he's earned everybody's respect. So he's now taken a leadership role, and it's been fascinating to watch that room grow.
It's funny because Sean was my server at one point.
I was just about to say, Meat Market's a great spot.
Great spot.
As we wrap it up, and a lot of the beginning of the season we talked about was getting the guys to, believe, or BULLIEVE, as you have the big sign here. I don't think I even have to ask you, now that it's clear to me anyway, that they have that belief, and I guess the focus is to, you mentioned, reset and just look to the next thing. So it doesn't sound like that's going to be a problem. Looking forward to a game where more attention is getting put on the program this week.
Yeah, I told the staff, and I certainly told our guys yesterday and again after practice, like the biggest challenge is to be able to reset, but to continue to perfect your process. I think certainly easier when you have success, but it's also easy to get complacent, and it's also easy to say we're good. We've made it. We've arrived in any imaginable way. Us as coaches, the players, the challenge is to tighten up. And it's like you go around a house and you can just walk by problems, or you can tighten screws up. You walk by a problem, or you could fix a little patch in the wall. And I think if you're complacent, you're just gonna walk by and be like, we're good. Or you could go grab the screwdriver and tighten up some screws, and go grab a paintbrush and tighten and fix the little holes. Like, that's the challenge, is to understand where we are, but where we got to get is a whole nother level, and there's so much left out there. And I think our guys are very vigilant of that, but I also think that us as coaches and the older guys in the program have to continue to force work, force change, force a drive to come in and study more, and continue to perfect your process. Because you watch the film, and boy, we are far from perfect. And the standard in a program is to chase perfection in everything we're doing. And so the second we stop, and I told these guys very bluntly, like the second you stop and you take a breath, you're going to get punched in the face. And I mean that wholeheartedly. I think in football, certainly in life. So that's the challenge. We as coaches got to keep driving that.
Awesome job. That's Alex Golesh sitting in his chair in just a few minutes. Will be one of the guys that was on the field for every defensive snap. Jhalyn Shuler, part of the big defensive effort, and hoping for another one this week in Birmingham, and hoping for another very glorious Food Truck Sunday. Bullseye continues.
The U.S. Naval Academy is rich in history, and no one would know better than one of our very own, retired Lieutenant Dennis Kelly. I'm Kaylee Control, your Bulls Insider. You were a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy. How does it feel to be back?
Oh, it's great to come back after all these years, but especially having my son here.
Talk to me about the sense of nostalgia you must be feeling as you revisit all of this.
It's just, mainly it's the amount of change and how young the midshipmen look now, and just all the facilities that have changed over the years, kind of like what USF is doing now. Well, it used to be regular grass, now it's artificial, but I played here many years ago before I went to the academy, and it was a thrill, but it's changed so much now. They've made all kinds of additions.
With your dad being a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy, how special is this to you?
Oh, this is really special. I mean, my first introduction to college football was attending games here at the Naval Academy when he was stationed here in the service. I remember the hill behind us. I remember rolling down the hill when I was a little kid. So to be a part of this is really, really special.
He's been a source of joy my whole life. And I don't get to see him that much anymore, so it's been a lot of fun.
So how special is it for you then to now come back and have USF take on Navy?
I wear a Navy shirt underneath, so I got to keep my green on the top. And it's just really wonderful. I got here 4 years ago when you played, and just being near seeing the midshipmen marching on and going brings back a lot of memories.
What are some of those memories that stand out to you?
Oh, being my senior year, being one of the battalion commander, and how proficient they look now. To think I used to be that young.
Obviously, we're proud to have the Naval Academy as part of the American Athletic Conference, and for us to be playing well and battling for the top of the American, this is an important game for us, so we're very excited.
How do you think your time at the Academy influenced you as a young man?
I think it taught me a lot of leadership potential, and I tried to instill that in my son.
He is number 17 in your program and number 1 in your hearts, especially on defensive two-point conversions. Derek Sharp and Kaylee Cottrell back with Jhalyn Shuler. It's funny, we see Jalen Stokes in the background spelled differently. The Jalen and Jalen show in effect. We hear a lot of noise in the background. I'm telling you, you can already, before we get into what happened last week and what's going on this season, this vibe, there's a little more noise. That's a good thing, right?
Yeah, game by game, we're just gaining our confidence more and more, which is a good thing, of course, but at the same time trying to, keep our heads level and go to work every day. But yeah, it's getting a little more fun around here by the day.
You feed off each other and vibe off that energy?
Oh yeah,
culture?
oh yeah. Both sides of the ball too. Like, we see somebody who hasn't been making plays or, hasn't made many plays they won't make a play at practice or even in the game. It just builds the individual confidence for them and then the confidence as a collective, like we can trust them. And it's just good to keep feeding off each other.
You mentioned both sides of the ball. It's something that has been brought up by your head coach over the last couple of shows, and that is specifically when something goes wrong on one side, the other side is right there to pick them up. The interception against Alabama, he said what really got to his heart was how you guys went out and said to Byron, we got you, and sometimes it goes the other way. Speak about that part of the team coming together.
Oh, well, we just know nothing's going to be perfect, on either side of the ball. Nobody's going to have a perfect game, but as long as we stay together and, not fall apart and not bicker at each other and let them know that we still trust you, even after a strip sack or interception, or we get scored on and the offense telling us, all right, we're finna go get it right back. Just hearing little stuff like that after not having the most successful drive that you can keeps yourself confident and let you just have a good feeling in your heart knowing your teammates still trust you, your coach still trusts you.
Love it.
Talk about that discipline, this Navy game, to start the game the way that it did, and for you guys to come back the way that you guys did. Talk about the resilience that this team showed.
We just didn't flinch, and Coach Creamer said that a lot about special teams. Don't flinch, but expectedly we want to come out and hit everybody. We play first in the mouth, but stuff didn't go our way early. But yeah, we just didn't flinch, and we knew our process was, in the right spot to make the right plays we needed to. We just kind of figured stuff out because they did a little stuff different than what they did. They came off a bye week, so yeah, they had a lot of time to prep for us and all. But everybody just settled down and just did what we knew we had to do.
So they had a lot of time to prep for you, and you didn't have as much time to prep. You had normal time to prep for an offense that's not normal. How condensed did film sessions seem, and how did you guys accept it? Because it seems like you guys did a pretty good job.
Honestly, I think I don't think we had one film session that ended at the time it was supposed to. We went over every day. We did extra every day, either individually as a group of players, or with the coaching and stuff. Coach T.O. beat it down in practice. Every day we're gonna start practice doing this, we're gonna end practice doing this. To make sure that we knew exactly, what we thought we was gonna come out and see. But like I said, they did a little stuff. They did stuff a little different. But after the first 2-3 drives where they got all the tricks and gadgets out, then it was pretty much just back to what we knew again.
Well, you mentioned T.O. Obviously, the defensive coordinator, Todd Orlando, has brought such energy to you guys, and he's always talked in confident tones about the defense. Does that sort of permeate through you guys? Do you feel that, and does it uplift your spirits? Because you guys are rocking right now. Oh yeah, for sure.
I don't know. It's just something about his, attitude and posture, how he carry himself, and this. Oh, I'm not okay. I was gonna say it right. I'm probably saying
that's all right. That's all right.
But yeah, just not gonna say careless, but just broad chest. This we're gonna punch you in the mouth, kind of bully attitude. So yeah, as a defensive unit, that's what we want to put on film. You're gonna come out there, we're gonna bully you, we're gonna hit you in your mouth, we're gonna pop our stuff. We're gonna be confident, we're gonna have fun. And it's kind of getting adopted into the offense too. You'll hear Coach Golesh say some stuff. T.O. say, he's gonna hit him with a bat, or it's just getting adopted throughout the whole team.
I can feel it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
The swagger that T.O. carry with himself is just getting adopted through the whole team. I used to joke around earlier and say, I think both sides need a T.O. actually, But like I said, Coach Golesh adopting it, and the offense adopting it, and we all just walking with our chest out and just kind of feeling a little unstoppable. But
that's
like I said,
stuff.
at the same time, just keeping our head down and knowing we got to go to work.
Nice.
What are some of those characteristics that Coach Orlando instills in you guys?
Confidence is the first one for sure. No matter what you're doing, what we're doing, we out there. We got to be confident. Communicating, over-communicating. He wants us to be out there, talking to each other just in case, if there's anything that we are unsure of, then as long as we communicate, as long as we all on the same page, it'll be all right. And then just flying around and having fun. It's just football, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, it's just a sport. We going to play, have fun. So fly around, have fun, be confident, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, that swagger, when you do make a play, he wants you to, get up and he call them wolf tickets. He say, hand out the wolf tickets. So.
I love that.
I want me a wolf ticket, but I don't fly around like you. I'm looking at the IPF here, and it seems like you could cover the sidelines pretty well. That's one of the things you say fly around specifically that you do well. Have you always kind of had that sideline-to-sideline mentality?
Well, I'm a pretty long dude, so, long legs. I can get across the field when I need to. But, yeah, I try to base my game on being able to cover a lot of area really quickly. So, yeah, that's about how I've been playing.
Well, also sometimes you have to cover a long distance. Like, for example, let me think of something. Oh, yeah, when the other team has a bad snap on a point after. That was an important play because it looked like it was going to be maybe a tie game at halftime. And as people know, a snap went awry. Take us through what happened next, because I'm back in the studio in Tampa going, 2 points, without knowing what was going to happen. Right. Did you know right away that was what was at stake?
Well, honestly, I probably had, out of everybody on the defense, the smallest chance of picking up the ball because everybody's on the line and I'm back 5 yards, 5-6 yards off the ball. But, I just seen it go over his head and just kind of just took off. And AB and Braxton, the corners off the edge, they both cracked down on the kicker, I believe, was the closest man to it. And then just free ball. I got it, had to get around the long snapper, and then it was just, I was looking at myself in the jumbotron actually while I was running just to make sure nobody else was around. It was fun. Jhalyn Stokes came up. He was running with me, running beside me. We was both handing out wolf tickets to the crowd.
That's what that was.
I
I'd like to amend my statement of saying sideline to sideline. Now it's goal line to goal line. But you did know that you had to score. It's not like you get down to the 1 yard line and the offense take it in. Did you have to look at it afterwards and say, hey guys, maybe next time don't try and trip me as we're going into the end zone? Or were you always going to stay on your feet?
No, I was good. I think I'm a pretty athletic dude. It was going to be all right.
Okay, speaking of being on your feet, first plane ride home with Alex Golesh. was after a loss. This situation, before we get to the plane ride, the locker room celebration on the road, it kind of probably hits a little bit different. First of all,
my fault.
no, you're good. I want you to tell us about it. He was shown on video dancing, and I think he did okay. But who's the actual best dancer on the coaching staff and on the team? And just sort of take us through that celebration.
On the coaching staff, I'm not sure. T.O. has some pretty outdated dance moves. He'll be over here doing the little. Come on, man. But,
We're gonna mow some lawn.
Yeah, but I like. It's funny to watch T.O. dance. I say T.O. or probably AG. AG just kind of get in there and just be vibing around with the rest of us, seeing what we doing, feeding off us.
Well, I bet one thing that really helped was the energy that the fans who traveled brought you guys. Were you feeding off of that at all? Because there were hundreds.
Yeah,
there.
I was low-key impressed, because Navy doesn't have the biggest stadium, but it's a nice stadium, and when it's a good amount of people in there, it's a nice environment for football. And we came out and seen all the USF fans who was I believe they were back behind us and off to the left a little bit, offset to the left. It was really good. It was really nice to see that, and they were being energetic. They were bringing us good juice and energy. I was really appreciative.
I owe everybody one question about your junior college Coffeyville, so I'll just go off of that. What was the most that Coffeyville fans traveled? Not as many? Not 500. I heard there might have been
maybe
500.
the football team, the staff.
Okay, all right.
That's about the most.
So this felt a little bit different, is what you're saying.
Yeah. This is a good. I would check this off as a great showing for a away game for sure.
Now back to the plane ride home. Normally on a plane ride, maybe I'm thinking about catching some sleep. I'm not even one that watches a movie. No, I sleep, but there was probably not much sleeping on that plane ride, huh?
Me personally, I was exhausted.
Okay.
I played every snap of defense last game,
Wow.
which is okay. I don't mind. I'm just doing whatever the team need me to. But yeah, personally, I was exhausted. The bus, on the other hand, the bus is to the plane. Man, I can go sleep if I tried. Can't hear myself think on that thing. It was all good. I'm real happy that. A lot of people that have been here, like the older guys, like Donald and Bino and them, it's the first time they ever won a conference away game.
That's right.
And for a lot of them, a conference game, Rice was the first time, they won a conference game in general. So like I said, I'm just happy that they get to experience that at least, before they leave.
Outstanding. And I got to ask you, people that are watching this on the video meeting, your hair is fantastic. You got the one braid. Is there a meaning to that little end right there that people can see?
Shell there?
Nah, you got to put it in there. Somebody put it in there in high school when my hair was this long. So it was literally just this long with, it was this.
He's pointing to the middle of his forehead.
But the rest of my hair grew out over time. And I don't know, I just never took it out, but I just was like, all right, well, it's there now.
It works. Everything you're doing is working. You just mentioned playing every snap on defense. Thanks for stopping by. You don't look tired at all, but get some rest for this week's game. Jhalyn Shuler, really appreciate it. Bullseye continues in a minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Bullseye. This is former USF linebacker Sam Barrington, and this is our segment where we highlight a former USF Bull. And today we have Mr. Utility Guy himself, Evan Landi. How are you doing?
Not too bad, Sam, man. Good to talk to you guys, and thanks for having me.
Good. All right. So we know who you are. We know how special you are, but just remind Bulls fans graduation year, position, and I guess just a highlight of your career here at USF.
Okay, yeah. Came in with the class of 08, ended up graduating in 2012, redshirted my first year. Played, obviously, toward the tail end of Coach Levitt, and then with Skip Holtz for the last 2 years of my career. Went as a quarterback, like you mentioned, the utility thing, kind of just the way stuff unfolds, and just team needs and all that stuff. And luckily I had the ability to do it, but moved to receiver, then to H-back. Our first, you were obviously there for him, but first couple of years, some really big wins, bowl wins. Unfortunately we had our issues our last couple of years. But yeah, man, I just remember my career, just my stint there, just so many good athletes we were around. Our senior class was, on paper was amazing, man. So, I just got a chance to play multiple positions, get my education, and finished up, like I said, 2012. And, I had no complaints, man. I had an awesome career personally and around everybody else.
Yeah. Now, I use the term utility mainly because you were a very versatile guy. It's not many guys who can throw the ball, catch the ball, block, run the ball, but you were one of those guys who could do literally everything. Obviously, you see the way the game has grown. You're seeing guys naturally come into the game as freshmen, a little more athletic than we were back in the day. But I want to know what contributed to your ability to be versatile on the field.
I think for me, honestly, man, it was more, I kind of wasn't really ever the biggest, fastest, and strongest on my position. But for me, man, I think it was just like being a student of the game.
Yeah.
And I think that started with I was a quarterback. And again, you were the quarterback of the defense, so to speak, is you get to know what all other 10 guys are doing, where they're supposed to be, whether they're supposed to be there, how they're supposed to get there.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just knowing every position I could. And then luckily had the athletic ability to, step in, put on the weight for the tight end or, try to get a little faster for the receiver position. But for me, it was just the knowledge of the game and knowing my playbook.
So for you, it was never a mindset. It was never a physical thing. It was always a mindset thing. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I would say, like I said, there were certain workout adjustments I had to make or, even diet adjustments for the physical side. But for me, it was mental. Like I said, luckily I had that perspective of what the QB saw. And then when I went to receiver, there was stuff that I noticed. I was like, all right, I did this at quarterback. I should know what they're thinking. And it was good to communicate with, BJ or, Growthy back then, Bobby Eval back in the day. And then when I was at quarterback, I was like, oh, okay, like that receiver probably maybe didn't get to that deep ball because he just ran 5 deep balls before that. But you don't think of that because you're not as gassed when you're throwing as compared to running. So there was definitely positives on both sides where I could relate. For me, it's more of a mental than a physical thing.
Sure. Well, obviously, in my opinion, you're a quarterback at heart because you know the game so well. What do you think about this freshman phenom that USF has in Byron Brown?
Honestly, when I first got a chance to watch him last year, even the situation he kind of came into towards the end of the season, for me, it was like they use the word moxie or poise. Like you said, I think incoming freshmen might be built a little different than we were.
Yeah.
I'll be dead honest. I couldn't have played as a true freshman. I know, you did very well. We had some other athletes around us that didn't, former teammates, but I personally could not have done it. So just to have, he has that pocket presence. You could tell he has a little leadership mannerisms, which is not easy for an incoming freshman to do with, maybe some veteran guys at skill positions or at your offensive line. For me, right away, because again, if he's playing that level, he can spin it, he can throw it. Obviously super athletic with that straightaway speed and getting out of the pocket. For me, it was just the way he carried himself. I'm like, man, this is a true freshman who came in late in the season, probably didn't think he was going to play, and is sitting there in the pocket, kind of chilling for a handful when, stuff might have been breaking down for him. So for me, it was just that poise and that moxie, which I think usually comes with a little more time, but I feel like he had it and he's starting to show it this year as well.
Yeah, it's so much conversation that happens, right, about players' mindset during the time of their playing days, and then, the type of person they become after they're finished with the game. I always knew you to be a very responsible guy. I always knew you to be a very helpful guy. Tell the fans how you're helping our community 10 years removed from college.
Yeah, so I currently now, next month will be 6 years. I'm a Davie Fire Rescue, paramedic and firefighter.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that kind of, it wasn't, I'll never forget, it was Ashley Chaffin was my academic advisor, and she always had a little list of backup plans, right? Because whether, someone like yourself played the next level for a handful of years, some of us didn't have the chance or had the opportunity, but your career is going to end at some point. So to have those backups and the education and stuff, and honestly, I had a list, and it was like 4th on my list. I'm not even sure how it got there.
Yeah.
I'm glad it was there. I'm glad that Ashley had made that list for me and some of the realities of life after, football and sports. But man, I love what I do. I'm really fortunate. Luckily, the physical part of it came pretty natural. And then you do some schooling, some medical schooling and stuff like that. But again, man, I really, really enjoy what I do.
That's amazing. My last question for you is, there's a lot of excitement around USF football right now, primarily because they're on a small win streak. What do you think about this current team, and how excited are you for them to go into the game this weekend?
I mean, again, we've luckily have been there. Just when that feel kind of changes in a locker room,
Yeah,
and you kind of turn a corner maybe. And again, unfortunately, the years that we've had, and like I said, we struggled the last couple years of us. You kind of get that feeling when you're losing like that. It's like, oh, here we go again.
yeah,
And you start to lose close games. And now the last couple games, and again, the way they compete against Bama, you have that thought where now they know what it feels like to turn that corner or not lose that 2-score, 1-score game in the fourth quarter, right? Or put a team away like last week in Navy. It's got to be an awesome environment they're going into. I'm excited too. Like you're getting a former player. We're all watching, and it is just cool to see them having fun. Like there's a point where no one wants to lose, right? And then when that becomes sometimes where the culture, for lack of a better term, it's not as fun. So to see them getting excited now, the fan base, and I'm guilty of it as the alumni. Just sometimes I wouldn't tune in or I wouldn't make it a point to watch the games, and it does affect it. Now I'm like, all right, the boys are playing. They're having fun, and now I know there's other stuff alumni going on to where I'm like, all right, I have no excuse anymore, and that is on me that to become a better alumni, be a little more in tune with things going on. So I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, three wins? I mean, that's awesome. They're stringing them together, and hopefully they can keep it going. One game at a time, I know, but it's cool to look ahead to see what they might be able to do with their remaining schedule.
that's a great perspective. We're asking for a better team, and it's very responsible of you, like always, to ask to be a better alumni. So I think that's a message everybody can take for themselves. Evan, we greatly appreciate you joining us. Thank you for what we're doing in the community. Thank you for what you're doing for our communities near and far, and we look forward to seeing you at a game this year.
Cool. Thank you. Likewise, man. Thanks for having me again.
And that's Evan Landi, ladies and gentlemen. Next time.
Back on Bullseye here with one of my favorite people, motivational speaker, author, excellent puzzle solver, move buster, and also happens to be an excellent golf coach. Erika, Brennan, thanks for being our guest.
Thank you for having me on. I'm excited for this.
This is year 50 of women's golf at South Florida, and the logo you guys can see over there is phenomenal. We'll get into what happens in year 50 already. It's been good. Year 49 was a pretty good one for you. We're going to get to know Erika a little bit, but let's just pick up where the golf program picked up this season, making it to the NCAA tournament for the first time in more than a decade. That experience and the desire to, I'm sure, even go further this year, it's got to be sort of like over everybody's minds.
Yeah, it was an incredible year last year, and that team really leaned into the culture and the intangibles and said, we're going to get it done. There is no more waiting. There is no more wanting. This will be the year that we execute. And so we got in, and that day at that celebration, when the selection show, it was such a magical moment for those girls. You could see it in their reactions, how much it meant to them. And what I love is it wasn't a moral victory. At no point did they say, we made it, yay, game over. Really, nationals is what was on our brain. And what was really cool is we were still inside the number to go to nationals with only 9 holes left in the final round. We didn't get it done, and it could have left us bitter. And instead of leaving any of us bitter, there was such a fire in our bellies and such a hunger for wanting to do more. So what came out of that final team meeting last year is really what has set us up for the type of season that we're off to this year.
So the year before that, Melanie Green, heretofore known as MG, made it as an individual, and then she got to enjoy it with the team. For those that are familiar with the NCAA basketball tournament, the selection show, it's not quite the same in golf, although there are some similarities. You have automatic bids, and the bubble is more concrete. It's mathematical. And the Bulls, who are trying to avoid this situation and are doing a really good job of it so far, we're right on the bubble. Explain to people like the spreadsheet angle of this and why there was such a big celebration.
The amount of number crunching that was going on behind the scenes, DS and I were digging into all the research, trying to get an idea of like, are we on the bubble? Are we inside of it? Are we just outside of it? You know, how will it go? Historically, the committee has always gone directly by the golf stat rankings. So we knew if we could figure out what those were, that we would have an idea if we were going to be last team in, first team out, or just how close it was going to be. So we were staying up late, we were crunching numbers, and we thought that there was a good chance we were going to be last team in, but you just never know because the committee subjectively could say this team over this team, et cetera. So we were the last regional to be announced, and when we saw the Bulls come up on the screen, it was pretty special.
Long Beach Guard says she said they were in the running until the last few holes of that one. We'll get more into this year's team in just a little bit. Now, people that don't know, you are a Floridian. You are from Lake Wales, and you learn golf, or you learn to enjoy golf at a young age. Tell us sort of how that goes into another part of our props here. That's a very important part.
Yeah, I grew up in the firehouse. So my dad was a career firefighter, really looked up and wanted to emulate those guys. And from an incredibly young age, like I couldn't get enough of firehouse culture. And so when they would get off shift at 6:15 in the morning, they would go play 9 holes at this local municipal course. And I got to tag along just because I wanted to soak it in. And the firehouse and the brotherhood in that culture is just something that you want to be a part of. There's a magnetism there. And so they let me tag along, which they didn't have to do, right? I'm 6, 7 years old, not overly glamorous, but they said, if you're going to be out here, you're going to be a part of us. And so there was a sense of belonging, even though obviously I'm not a firefighter. Those guys never treated me less than. It's a tough culture. It's firm, but it's also filled with love. And so there was plenty of firing shots across the bow, and competitiveness. But really, the firehouse culture is a lot of the leadership style that I deploy now.
And, as we're coming up on the end of September, September 11th has a lot of meaning to you. And I know that not just from your dad's profession, but just in general, how to cherish life and how to serve, right? It's big for you.
That's really what it is. It's service leadership, and really great leaders are people that don't stand out in front and don't feel the need to grandstand. They're the people that can rally the group that they have and bring out the best in each one of them. And I think it's certainly what the FDNY did on 9/11. Those guys, that is the stuff of legend, what happened on that day. And that really is the fire service in general. Those are guys that, I say it all the time, it's actually one of the most inclusive environments I've ever been in. And that's counterintuitive. You may not think that, but those guys are very different. There's not one type of person that becomes a firefighter, but those unique differences are celebrated. And when you put it together, it makes for a really, really awesome family atmosphere.
I got to say, it sounds like your approach to building a golf team because, I'm going to try and hold it together here, but I love a lot of the teams that I've been around. But even before this group, I can always remember your groups just being very special, feeling a part of something, being very intelligent, very kind, and I don't think that's a coincidence.
Yeah, it's the type of player we want to recruit. So first and foremost, we want kind of gritty blue-collar people. Golf, there's such a misnomer that it's this, silver spoon country club environment, and sure, those people exist, but the ones that we're after are the ones that have that work ethic, and I think that only is born through some adversity, and so we really like blue-collar girls that are willing to get in there and get amongst it. And it works for us. It's different, but it works.
It really does. And you mentioned DS. Sometimes I'm the other DS, but DS is Dalton Stevens. So you got here right in December of 2017. And it's been so long that you guys have been here. It feels like you've been here forever. I think he's from Iowa. I'm not exactly sure how you found him. So you and he sort of coined this phrase, the uprising. Could you explain? And of course, we're still rising.
Yeah, no doubt. We're not done yet. So the uprising is really just about launching a revolt against the status quo. And that's the only way that you can really get big results quickly. And so DS and I are very much aligned. He came from a junior college background. I came from a Division II background. So he and I are both blue collar, gritty people. And so the uprising is really just about doing it in a way, like I said, that's different, but in a way that makes sense for us. And so it doesn't have to look, see, or feel like any other team in the country. We know that the way that we're doing it is the right way for us, and we feel really confident about that.
And you will go to the ends of the earth, apparently, because during this last summer, you guys are texting me from Germany. You're always on the hunt for future Bulls no matter where you go? Yeah,
no doubt. We our recruiting ground is planet Earth. We haven't made it to extraterrestrials just yet, but we don't really care where you come from, but certainly there's a type of girl that sparks interest in us really quickly, and it's awesome, even with the two girls that have come in this year, just how quickly it's, to your point, it's like they've been here forever. It's really cool.
And different types. Alyssa is a transfer, and Emma is from France. There you go, second on the team. Now, as far as, hopefully you don't do this because it would automatically disqualify me from the team. I hinted at you being a puzzle solver. Do you test them on the Rubik's Cube? Because, folks, first thing I noticed about her was a Rubik's Cube on her desk. I'm sure you haven't tried this yet, but she could probably solve 3 at one time with her eyes closed, juggling them. So is that part of the deal?
Yeah, they don't need to be able to solve a Rubik's Cube, but
Okay.
Honestly, I think it lends itself to authenticity. And so one way that I think I get miscategorized a lot is that I'm just the happy, dancy, juju on that beat girl. And yes, that is a massive part of my personality, but I am actually introverted, which I think throws some people off. Voracious reader, write poetry, working on a book. Like there's more than meets the eye. And so, no, they don't need to be able to solve a Rubik's Cube, but they need to be authentic. And so whatever it is that sets their soul on fire, they get to be that within our program. And when you let young people be who they are, that's where good things happen.
She's also excellent at Wordle, by the way. I'm on the text chain with DS and Erika and Lauren Heinle, former player. And what was it, the day? This is a little insight here. The day that you guys, and so we get sort of look at this year's team, first tournament of the year, they win. I mean, they blew it out in the third round. I think it was a one-shot lead, ended up being 9-10. And the Wordle word that day was CLOSE,
Close.
which is one of those, hear that, one of those words that can be said, and it means two different things, two different ways. Close, like close, but we didn't quite do it. Close or close. And in my mind, you were thinking the latter, close, and the other one wasn't even possible. First of all, good job with the Wordle. Secondly, that's what you guys were thinking, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's really cool. So there was a weather delay that morning, and there was a chance, like the coaches were meeting, and so some of the other coaches were coming up to me, and they're like, "You're probably the only coach that doesn't want to play today, because had we gotten rained out, we retain the win, we get the win, etc." And I was like, "Oh no, the Bulls for sure want to play today." And they're like, "That's so bizarre that you would say that. Like you've got the W locked up if you get the weather delay, but stroke differential matters. And so we know what mission we're on. We want to get to nationals, and we knew that we had a one-shot lead, but those girls, we weren't happy with a one-shot lead. Like we wanted to extend that. And so we wanted to play, and credit to them. They dug their heels in and said, we're not going to let it end like this. And so extended that and got a better stroke differential result.
She mentions that because we talked about crunching numbers before. It depends on how much you win by, who you beat, who jumps you. And at the second event, where, by the way, going into round 3, the word on Wordle was Rocky. Yep. It didn't quite work out, but you were right there until the very end. And the teams that were ahead of you were all top 30 teams. So express the importance of getting yourselves into events where you're playing this kind of competition.
Yeah, we're playing a much stronger competition this year, and that also helps for the ranking and the algorithm. So trying to get into better events, and this was definitely that. This was a who's who of teams that people recognize from the Big Ten and things like that. So to be in contention that late in the tournament bodes so well for our future. It's not the final round that we wanted. We definitely left some out there, but it wasn't from a lack of controlling the controllables. And so if we are doing those things and we're just not executing and we're having an off day, it's really difficult to be upset by that, right? And so they were controlling the controllables. We ended up finishing 4th in a great field. We went into it ranked 4th. So overall, a great event, but again, it leaves that fire and that hunger for what we want to do over in Tulsa.
So we've explained some of the props on the set here, the logo 50 years, firefighter helmet, obviously. There's the trophy from the first event of this year. And who's this guy over here?
Well, that's Rocky. And Wordle's doing us well this year. Each tournament, we're coming up with good Wordle words. But this is something that's earned. It's not given. So it's a driver head cover, and the first time that they break par out with the team, they earn their Rocky head cover. So it's like kind of a fun little rite of passage.
And you guys have a fun team. And before we finish up, just sort of a little update on the actual ladies. You said, what was the name of it? Juju on the beat?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Introverted, okay. When you see her on the screen, it happened for the first time last season. Was that your first performance of this dance?
First performance. That's painting with really broad strokes, if you call that performance.
It was fantastic.
But it was fun. It's fun.
So this song, which is now, when I hear the first beats, I think of Erika Brennan, and she just has this routine. How did you shape the routine? Did you make tweaks to it? Did you just say, no, I'm doing it on my own. I don't care if it's good or not? Because it looked like a fully produced dance.
So not for sure not my original choreography. It came from the illustrious background of TikTok, and so that is the official moves. And so if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna juju on the beat, you gotta do it correctly.
What I loved about it is when it happened, of course, the first game of the season, and I stopped everything I was doing in our football because I knew it was about to happen. And I think the crowd picked up on it. Now I got to ask, are you working on anything else? / there's this other thing where, when people go to a concert, they just want to hear the one big hit. So why would you change it up? Is there an approach for a new dance or no?
I think I like making other people laugh. I like making sure that people know that they can be boldly brilliant and that comes from a place of authenticity. So real talk, if you point the camera to me and there's a dance, whatever music's on, I'm going to figure it out just because I like bringing people joy.
Well, you really, really do. We alluded to MG, Alyssa, and Emma, and we also, of course, have Leo. And rounding out the starting lineup for you guys is Alex. So pretty solid group. So where are they in their games, and what needs to be tuned up, if anything?
Yeah, it's coming along great, and I like that the amount of diversity that we have within our programs. A lot of cultures represented, a lot of different backgrounds represented. Their games are pretty tidy right now. Their short games are really, really impressive. They are firing on all cylinders. They're doing the right things to try to be the type of teammates that we all need and that we all deserve. And those things, it's crazy. There's no magic sauce, right? There's not anything. It's doing the simple, correct things day in and day out that produce the results, and they're doing that.
Well, we're just going to continue to follow the uprising. And Erika, it's a pleasure. We could talk forever. Obviously, you guys get out and watch them if you can. They're one of the most fun teams to be around. Until then, keep those horns up, and we'll return with more Bullseye next.
Putting a wraps on this episode of Bullseye. Great to hear from all of our guests. Boy, you can tell the team is not going to, and I think it's important, BJ, to hear what Coach Golesh had to say about you could react one of two ways. Either we're good or fix the holes. I'll admit it, if there's a little problem with something at my house, I'm not going to take the Coach Golesh approach, so I'm glad I'm not the head football coach, but that was great to hear.
It was. And it kind of a testament to what he's preaching to his team. Details and the little things can become big things. So, I really respect what he's doing, what he's preaching, and I love the fact that our players are responding no matter what happens throughout the game.
And then also just a footnote, Coach Brennan is great, obviously. Next week we're going to have a guest from women's lacrosse. But just to catch you up, 2 weeks ago when Billy Mole, who was getting inducted into the Tulane Hall of Fame, said he was going to live it up with some I guess probably should talk about the Hall of Fame, but I'm talking about the food. The char-grilled oysters at Drago's. He did. He sent me a video. I'm jealous. But I have learned after the fact, and I was surprised because I know you would never eat elephant ears, that you do not only like oysters, but you've had those same at that restaurant, right?
I absolutely have, yeah. 2 years ago we played at Tulane, and Sam Barrington took me there. So I had a good time, with the Parmesan cheese and the spinach.
Yes.
So it was good. It was really good.
Just not shrimp.
No shrimp.
No shrimp.
No.
Oh, that's right.
My face will blow up like a Hitch, the movie Hitch with Will Smith.
He's not kidding, by the way. And no, thankfully I've not seen it in person, but I've learned enough about you to know not to walk, don't have any shrimp in your pocket when you walk by BJ Daniels. Are you an oysters person, or is that too off-putting for you?
I think I might have ventured into them once or twice. I don't really know if they're my thing.
No?
But I give them a go again, maybe.
Well,
but not my go-to.
It's not the kryptonite for me like shrimp is for you, but the one thing for me is beets. Don't even tell me this beet salad is the best. No. The smell.
I've never eaten beets.
No.
See, I'm a fan. I like beets. I'd order a beet salad.
How would you have it? Just do it a certain way?
I like them in a salad.
Just how they are? Okay. You eat beets how they are?
Yeah. Or pickled beets. Pickled beets are good.
Oh, wow. No chance.
Yeah. Okay. A little balsamic drizzle over it paired with some cheese.
Okay, if you can whip that up for me.
You dressed it up,
yeah. Make it tasty.
You made me think it's a possibility, but probably not. Hey, real quick on the opponent this week, UAB, you look at the record, you think, and I know the Bulls don't think this, but they've got a pretty good quarterback, Mr. Quarterback. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Jhalyn is their quarterback. He's a junior. He's 75% completion right now, which is 4th nationally in the country. So he gets the ball out quick. He's a veteran guy. I mean, we've also already played against a veteran quarterback in JT Daniels at Rice. But it'll be interesting to see how we kind of attack what he's doing and try to kind of manage and keep everything in front of us from a defensive perspective.
And I'll be curious to continue to see how the national reaction is. Excuse me, after the Alabama game, it was, oh, what's wrong with Alabama? Now you see this week, it's more like, Alabama survived that scare against that good USF team. It's, I think that the Bulls are starting to get some attention. We're always bringing the attention to them right here on Bullseye. For BJ and Kaylee, I'm Derek Sharp. See you guys next week. Horns up.